the first thing we're going to do to, I think, stop racism is stop focusing on racism.
Stop focusing on racism.
Remember when America promised to do better on race? Well, according to a new poll, many now believe it already has. The poll reveals a striking shift in public perception that fewer Americans feel that black communities face serious discrimination. Only 45% now say black people face high levels of bias, down from 60% in 2021. Is the country moving further away from the racial reckoning sparked by George Floyd's killing in 2020? Here's the story with more.
4 years ago, following the murder of George Floyd, the U.S. entered what many called a racial reckoning. Protests filled the street. Companies vowed to do better, and diversity, equity and inclusion, or DEI, became buzzwords in boardrooms and classrooms. But today, Americans seem to think those efforts worked or weren't needed at all. A new poll shows a sharp decline in how many people think discrimination remains a big problem. Less than half of U.S. adults now say black people face a great deal or quite a bit of discrimination. In 2021, that number was 60%, but today it's just 45%. This poll shows that Americans' view of racial discrimination has shifted substantially since 4 years ago. In fact, fewer than half of Americans think DEI reduces discrimination for any group, including women, black, Hispanic or Asian communities. Meanwhile, around 1 in 4 believe DEI is making discrimination worse. And while only 15% think white people face discrimination, almost 40% of white adults believe DEI is actually discriminating against them. Interestingly, the backlash isn't just coming from the outside. Some black and Hispanic Americans now believe DEI may be doing more harm than good. Around 40% of black respondents and a third of Hispanic respondents say DEI increases discrimination against people like them. It's a similar story for other groups. Concerns over discrimination against Asian Americans fell from 45% to just 32%. Views on discrimination against Hispanic people stayed steady at 44%, while only 15% believe white people face serious bias. Experts believe the U.S. has backpedaled on its promises, and the everyday reality of black Americans is being downplayed. What started as a reckoning is now becoming a retreat. It's a complex landscape, with beliefs of progress, perceptions of reverse discrimination, and faith in fixes all colliding. Americans may be growing less convinced that racism is a major problem, but that doesn't mean the solutions have been agreed upon. As the country moves away from its post-2020 commitments, it faces a new challenge. Can you fix a problem that many no longer acknowledge?
On the air. Go back to Africa? Okay, we're going to, believe me, when we go to these phones, people are going to tell you to do just that, Chuck.
And while U.S. policies continue to put pressure on African nations, many African Americans are making a different choice. Ditching the American dream, they are returning to Africa to reconnect with their roots, reclaim their heritage, and rediscover their identity. So, what is driving this shift, and what could it mean for Africa's future? Our next report has more details.
The American dream, glorified by pop culture and sown deep into the minds of people, has drawn many to the United States for decades. But that dream is getting a reality check and seems like it doesn't hold the same appeal anymore. For some, the real dream now lies deeper, in their roots, in heritage, and in identity. Many African Americans are now looking beyond the U.S., packing their bags and heading home, to Africa. Why? To reconnect, to feel accepted, and to reclaim their heritage. 38-year-old American YouTuber Austin Holloman is one of them. He moved to Kenya 9 months ago. He says the U.S. felt broken to him. But on the other hand, Kenya feels warm, welcoming, and complete.
So I picked Kenya because I feel the safest here. People look similar to me, or you could say they look like me. It's not like going to Europe or going to some Latin American countries where there aren't that many black people. And I think God just wants me here. It feels like I'm at home, like I fit in here.
And it's not just about feelings. Politics is also pushing this change. Holloman says America's global image is not what it used to be. And with Donald Trump's return, he is worried what comes next.
He's creating global tension, so new countries are making it harder for Americans to even travel or to be a nomad in different countries. Like in Namibia, they deported Americans and they added new visa restrictions when before you could just fly right in. So Trump may not be the best solution for expats.
Holloman is not alone. Meet Kenneth Harris. He is an ex-military veteran. Born in Atlanta 2 years ago, he booked a one-way ticket to Kenya. Today, he is hosting guests in an Airbnb and enjoying his dream life in Nairobi.
I've always had that adventurous spirit, especially when I joined the military, got to go to different countries and so me taking the opportunities to venture out to other places, that's what allowed me to make a home away from home. And Kenya is my new home.
Harris and Holloman are just two voices. A growing number of African Americans are making the shift. They want to connect with their ancestors and are calling the move coming home. And while Kenya is a hotspot, it is not just the only one. Ghana started Year of Return in 2019. It became a catalyst for thousands of African descendants to embark on the return journey. Last year, it granted citizenship to 524 Black diaspora members, mostly African Americans. Benin has followed suit. Last year, it passed a law giving citizenship to descendants of enslaved Africans. The American artist and Grammy-winning performer Ciara has just become one of the first to be granted citizenship. The motive behind this is not just cultural. Economists say this reverse migration could boost Africa's economies and help the continent to hold on to its talent.
In some way, America is losing talent, it's losing resources, it's losing the narrative that America is the land of dreams, is a viable place for anyone. There are abundance of opportunities. There is social cohesion, there is stability. This reverse migration is denting that narrative. So America is of course likely to lose, including things like brain drain.
So while more and more African Americans choose to return, they are not just escaping, but are returning to peace and purpose. And as they make that journey home, their stories aren't ending. They are new beginnings.
People were sharing helmets because we were lied to, saying that we had equipment on the way.
Shreen had to wear his helmet that he had in high school that I bought him. That I know it wasn't registered and it wasn't a certified helmet for this season.
And his helmet comes off. I can't believe this happened again.
With players sharing helmets, yes.
Is that dangerous?
Football is dangerous. Yeah.
Study my brain. As we just heard, that was in the note written by the gunman in Midtown Manhattan, according to authorities in New York. So was a claim that he got the brain disease, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, from playing high school football. Now, only an autopsy can conclusively diagnose CTE, but to better understand the signs and symptoms, we called up Chris Nowinski. He played college football at Harvard and was a pro wrestler before becoming a neuroscientist and the CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation.
The early signs aren't exactly clear, and that's why it's important that people who have these symptoms seek medical help, because while people with CT often have mental health issues, have problems with cognition, have all these other things, especially when you're in your 20s and 30s, like, we don't exactly know if it's CT causing this or it's another treatable condition. It's one thing when we were talking about older people who have dementia and played 20 years of football, like that, you can often predict CT somewhat accurately there. With these younger people, we just published a study of 152 people who died before 30, whose family was all concerned they'd taken too many hits, and only 40% had it. And so it's important for people to realize if they're concerned, they're better off seek treatment, because you might have something that's very easily treatable. Even if you have CTE, the symptoms are treatable.
As far as we know, Tamura only played organized football in high school. Is that long enough for someone to get CTE?
So it's entirely possible to get CTE just from playing through high school. The bigger question is, when did he start? Because your odds of developing CTE double every probably 3 to 5 years. And so if he started at 5, he's got a dramatically higher risk of having CTE versus if he started as a 9th grader or 10th grader.
So is it more of a cumulative hits on the brain, or can one big hit cause it?
In theory, one big hit can cause it, but in studying brain banks of people who've had one big hit, it's extremely rare.
It was in 2005 that Dr. Bennett Amalu performed an autopsy on former NFL player Mike Webster and concluded that Webster was the first to be diagnosed with CTE. What has been learned in the 20 years since about CTE that maybe might offer some hope?
Yeah, Webster was the first American football player diagnosed with CTE, but we'd known about it for almost 100 years, starting with boxers.
We had terms before, punch drunk, right? Also shell-shocked for soldiers. I mean, we had these terms before, but I guess we didn't know exactly what to call it medically.
Right. We didn't even have the tests we use now to diagnose CTE. So we couldn't visualize tau protein, which is the hallmark of CTE, until the late 1970s. The reality is we also now are finding that this is pretty widespread among people who had really long careers. We let this disease linger far too long, just assuming it was in boxers, and now we realize it's in football players, ice hockey players, rugby players, military veterans who are exposed to blast injuries or blast overpressure. We've studied more than 400 NFL players, and more than 90% have had it. We just published that 18 of 19 NHL players have had it. And we contrast that with the fact that only a minority of those who played through high school have had it. But I think the number out there is much bigger than people realize.
Tamura mentioned the NFL in his note. Considering the NFL's dubious past about downplaying the effects of football on the brain, where does the league stand today on concussions and CTE?
You know, the reality is, I started this work almost 20 years ago when I was with the WWE. My colleague Chris Benoit, who had confided in me that he was concerned about all his concussions, changed dramatically over a period of months and ended up killing his wife, his 7-year-old son, and himself. Aaron Hernandez killed 2 people. Phillip Adams, former NFL player at 32, killed 6 strangers and had CTE. All of them had CTE. So we know this is happening, and it's going to keep happening until we learn how to cure this disease. And so the important thing is that this is a very sad day for everybody, especially the victims and their families. And hopefully we can make something good come of this, which is a reminder to everybody that this has been happening for a long time, and we're going to have to change if we want different outcomes.
Given the shooter's request to have his brain studied, is that what will happen? I mean, is that request alone enough?
I suspect it is. The New York Medical Examiner's Office is among the most sophisticated in the world, and they have neuropathologists who are familiar with CT. And so I suspect that they will study him for CT and every other possible brain disorder that could cause this sort of behavior and psychiatric symptoms.
Chris Nowinski is a neuroscientist and CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
He was so fat. You saw how fat he was. I don't care what I brought in this house. He just eat it up. I don't care what it was I brought in here. I bring some Popeye's chicken. That boy eat the whole thing before I even get a chance to get me a bite of the chicken. He would eat his little ass off. You ain't never seen nobody eat like. He would eat candy, gumballs. He make me take him over up there to the Super Kmart, and he put them quarters in that gumball machine. Yeah. He had to wait till he get the red gumball. He always had to get the red gumball.
You sound like a character, I guess.
Get that red gumball, and he just eat on that red gumball. I was in good, but I did every single thing I could think to do. I was really good. I was really good. I was good. I was really good. I ain't wanting to be fat like that. I do not want my baby to be fat like that because I know a black man in America, you can't be like that. I try to...
Revolutionary, unprecedented, game-changing. Weight loss drugs have been called all of this and more. Your Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro and others, they are the new normal and they're everywhere. But are they too good to be true? Weight loss drugs were first developed as a diabetes treatment. They were meant to help lower blood sugar levels, but it became obvious how they affect your body. They cut weight dramatically. You see, these jabs suppress your appetite, so you feel full. You eat less and you burn more energy, which means you lose huge amounts of weight rapidly, enough to rival surgical procedures. So doctors started using the same drugs to treat obesity. And then there was no looking back. It became a trend. Less about health, more about aesthetics. Now celebrities are taking these drugs, social media is promoting them, and people are scrambling to get them. It is tough to know exactly how many people use weight loss drugs and why, but according to estimates by Morgan Stanley Research, about 11% of the world is using them. That's about 1.3 billion people on weight loss drugs. Last year, this market stood at $15 billion. By 2035, it could reach $150 billion. And this is not surprising. The demand for weight loss drugs is soaring, so much so that it could soon become unsustainable. Says who? A UK trade body, the National Pharmacy Association. It says that there is so much demand for weight loss drugs that there are supply problems. There are persistent shortages. So those who really need them, like overweight patients, cannot find the drugs at pharmacies. And this is not just a UK problem. Shortages have been reported the world over. And this has spurred what's being called the Ozempic underground, a black market of weight loss drugs, where people are securing them privately, illegally, via websites and social media. This market is booming, and it is filled with counterfeit products. Doctors fear that this can fuel a health crisis. But even with the real goods, the same fear persists. We could be looking at a health crisis. You see, weight loss drugs come with a big, bold promise. But they also come with side effects, which are buried in the fine print. Most of these drugs cause diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting, and we know this. It is printed on the packets. But in recent months, a range of concerning reports have emerged. They warn of acute gallstone disease in people and hypoglycemia, which happens when your blood sugar levels drop too low. Also stomach paralysis and blocked intestines. Hundreds of people have reported problems with their pancreas. People took the weight loss drugs and then they had to be hospitalized. Recent studies have found links between weight loss drugs and suicidal thoughts. They can cause depression, raise the risk of womb cancer, and double the risk of eye damage in diabetic patients. And these are not mild problems. These are medical emergencies. Despite this, millions of people are taking weight loss drugs. We still don't know how common the side effects are or how big they will be in the future. What we are witnessing today is arguably unprecedented. These medicines are being developed at breakneck speed. New players are entering the space. The drugs are being promoted by influencers. But what about the research? It is playing catch-up. This weight loss boom resembles a giant human experiment. So what should you do? At the very least, know the risks. Do your research and speak to a doctor who knows your history. Because weight loss drugs may be revolutionary. They may promise to shave off a few kilos, but they may also demand their pound of flesh.
$3.99 for all you can eat. All you can eat. All you can eat. All you can eat.
Children in the U.S. get, on average, nearly 70% of their daily calories from ultra-processed food. Eating too much of that is tied to health problems, including obesity, diabetes, and depression. Scientists, though, say not all kids may respond to ultra-processed foods in the same way. Michaeline Ducleff explains.
Ultra-processed foods contain ingredients you rarely find in your kitchen, like preservatives, additives, and flavors. And there's a growing consensus among scientists that these foods can trigger people to overeat.
incredibly powerful corporations that have poured millions of dollars into designing foods to maximize craveability.
That's Ashley Gerhardt. She's a psychologist at the University of Michigan. She says ultra-processed foods can cause adults and children to eat even when they're not hungry, and to keep eating after they're full.
Humans were doing a pretty darn good job eating for our needs before ultra-processed foods took off.
These foods can override the signals in our brain that tell us when to stop eating. In recent years, scientists have found that some kids are more vulnerable to this response because they are born with what scientists call an
intense food reward drive.
With a strong food reward drive, kids can regulate their eating with real food, but with ultra-processed food, they struggle. To understand this better, let's look at an example. Carrie Botel is a psychologist at the University of California, San Diego. She knows two siblings with extremely different food reward drives.
If I give them each an ice cream cone, right? The first one would eat half of it and put his down.
This child has a lower food reward drive. With kids like this, ultra-processed foods don't have such a big impact on their eating.
They just eat to get full and then they move on.
But the other sibling would eat her ice cream very quickly and then reach over and eat the rest of her brother's. She has a strong food reward drive. Kids like this,
they want to eat all the time. It doesn't matter if they're full, that kind of thing. And those kids are going to gain weight in today's environment.
Where ultra-processed food is ubiquitous. Botel says a strong food reward drive isn't anybody's fault. It's largely genetic. But a lot of popular advice isn't going to work with these kids. For example, you can't keep a bunch of ultra-processed food in your house and then try to restrict how much a child can have.
This situation where we have 80 million cookies in the closet, but you can have half. That's really difficult for children, and it's setting them up for failure.
Instead, Botel says it's more effective to try and keep ultra-processed food out of your home. And if you do buy it, limit the options to only a few.
We know from experimental studies that variety increases eating. You can have like 3 different kinds.
And when she says 3, she means, for example, 1 package of crackers, 1 box of granola bars, and 1 bag of pretzels. That's it. Over at the University of Michigan, Ashley Gerhardt takes a similar strategy with her 2 boys. She keeps her home essentially free of ultra-processed foods, except for special occasions.
Like, oh, we're having a bunch of friends over? Sure, we'll order a bunch of crappy pizza. And we do not forbid ultra-processed foods at all, but our baseline is foundationally real food.
This approach, she says, works even for her son, who has a strong food reward drive. For NPR, I'm Michaeline Ducliffe.
A terrible thing to waste. Environmental racism and its assault on the American mind. Written by Harriet A. Washington.
A group of activists from Louisiana have traveled to New York this week to confront the financial backers of destructive natural gas projects in what's known as Cancer Alley. The protests come just days after the U.S. liquefied natural gas company Venture Global announced it's going ahead with plans to build a massive new liquefied natural gas facility in Louisiana after the company secured $15 billion in financing. During a series of actions here in New York, protesters have been targeting big banks, including Barclays, Bank of America, as well as the homes of executives. On Thursday, protesters visited the home of Francis Townsend, who served as Homeland Security Advisor for President George W. Bush, now a board member of the insurance company C.O.W.S. This is Roishetta Ozane of the Vessel Project speaking outside Townsend's home.
We came to the door of the murderers, and the murderers ran from us. I actually found that funny. Yes, I do. Like, we don't have weapons. They have the weapons of mass destruction. These weapons go by the names of LNG.
That was Roishetta Ozane, founder and director of the environmental justice group, the Vessel Project in Louisiana. She's joining us here in our Democracy Now! Studio with her 12-year-old daughter, the climate activist Kamea Ozane. She suffers from asthma like so many in Cancer Alley. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! I also covered you months ago when you came and were involved in a lot of these protests. A number of people got arrested. First of all, Roishetta, start off by telling us, what is Cancer Alley? Where does it extend from in Louisiana, and why do you call it that?
Yes, thank you so much for having us, Amy. So Cancer Alley is traditionally known as the 85-mile stretch between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Well, we live in Sulphur, Louisiana. In
Sulphur?
Yes, Sulphur. It smells just like the name. Sulphur is in southwest Louisiana near Lake Charles. But what we've grown to know is that the entire state of Louisiana is Cancer Alley. So we live where what's called the mouth of Cancer Alley, where we have dozens and dozens of petrochemical, LNG, oil and gas polluting facilities.
And so if you can talk about what is this toxic billionaires tour that you've traveled all the way from Louisiana to New York for this week.
We've come here because we've asked, we've requested, we've emailed for the CEOs of banks like Citibank, JP Morgan Chase, insurance companies like Chubb and AIG. We've asked them to come to our communities, breathe the air, drink the water, and get a taste of what we live every day, and they've refused to come. Yet they sit here in New York and in offices in DC, and they make decisions for our communities. Decisions that are killing our children, decisions that are harming our air, our water, and our wildlife. So we brought our community here to them.
So why today Citibank?
Today we're going to be in front of Citibank because Citibank continues to be the #2 leader in financing fossil fuels. Even though they proclaim that they're doing better, they're making better choices, they're adhering to free, prior, and informed consent, we know that numbers don't lie. Citibank has put billions of dollars behind fossil fuel projects since the Paris Agreement.
We're also joined by Kamea Ozane. She is 12 years old, but it's not the first time she's taken part in a climate protest. I want to go back to last year when we filmed her here in New York during another protest outside Citibank.
The city banks keep funding these fossil fuel industries in our communities. They put them in the small black and indigenous communities on purpose because they know that we can't do anything about that. They put them in poor communities, in low-income communities on purpose. This is not okay. This is racist.
This is not okay. This is racist, Kamea. Kamea is joining us in our studio, and I want to be the first to wish you a happy pre-birthday because tomorrow you will be 13.
Yes, sir.
But talk about the conditions that you suffer from and describe sulfur for us. Your mom said, basically, you're saying your community smells.
Yes, so when you walk outside, right, as soon as you walk outside of my house, if you look over, you can see the industries from right outside in my front yard. And from the industries, you can see, like, the bulging fires, and you can smell this really toxic air. And that's not good air to be breathing in, and it's not good for the kids to go outside and play outside because the air is making them sick with conditions like cancer, asthma, eczema. My brother even has epilepsy from these plants and these industries harming him in his health because they want to put them in communities like mine, in communities where people, like, they can't control what the banks are funding and putting in our communities.
So you suffer from eczema and asthma?
Yes, ma'am.
What happens with your asthma?
With my asthma, it makes me feel like it's hard to breathe, and it feels like an elephant sitting on my chest. And I'm thankful that my grandma, like, helps me have natural remedies to help me get through this process of asthma.
Roishetta, you look like you're crying.
I am. Because it's so sad that I had to bring all of my children here to New York to go in front of these CEOs and go in front of these banks to plead our case that our children are dying. My 7-year-old son is also here. He'll be speaking today. He goes outside to jump on the trampoline, to play on the swing set, and he comes back in the house and he says, "Mom, it stinks out here. It smells like rotten eggs. I don't want to be outside." You know, in 2025, where children are so prone to devices and sitting in front of iPads, which I'm not condemning, but to have children who still want to go outside and play, but they can't because the air is horrible. And to be paying a water bill in a community where every day we're getting alert that says, don't drink the water, there's a boil water advisory, there's E. coli in the water every single day. And also Louisiana just announced 4 deaths from bacteria in the water. Something has to be done. And it just makes me sad. This is not a happy occasion to be here in New York, where otherwise it should be. We're here because we're fighting for our lives.
You're holding 2 protests today?
We're holding 2 protests today. We're going from Citibank, which is the 2nd largest funder of fossil fuels, and we're heading to Jane Frazier, who is the CEO of Citibank. We're heading to her house next because she has refused to meet with us in person. So we're going to her doorstep.
And what are you going to ask her for? What are you demanding? And I want to ask both of you that, starting with Kamea.
We are demanding that she stops funding these plants and putting them in industries like ours, because she would never put them in her community. She only puts them in our low-income communities.
What we're asking for is that they listen to us. They understand that we are real people. We are not small people from small towns that are sacrifice zones. We are people with culture, with family, who are fighting for our right to breathe clean air and drink clean water. And we want them to change their investments, invest in renewable energy, invest in the community, invest in small businesses, invest in our schools, in green spaces, in resources that our communities need to survive and thrive.
I want to thank you both for being with us, Roishetta and Kamea Ozane. Roishetta is the founder and director of the environmental justice group, the Vessel Project, and Kamea, a climate activist, turns 13 years old tomorrow. Again, happy birthday.
Once again, living around polluted air increases the risk of developing dementia. That is according to a new study. Alejandra Barunda with NPR's Climate Desk reports.
About 20 years ago, a neuroscientist in Mexico City noticed that old dogs in the most air-polluted parts of the city were acting a lot like they had dementia. Emory University researcher Anka Hus was fascinated by that finding.
They conduct an autopsy on dogs, or specifically looked at their brains.
And inside, the researchers saw the characteristic signs of neurodegenerative disease.
And found air pollution particles and nanoparticles in their brain, especially among the ones who had shown signs of neurodegeneration and Alzheimer's disease.
The finding kicked off a whole new field of research, which asked, does air pollution contribute to dementia in humans too? A new analysis in the medical journal The Lancet pulls together dozens of studies published recently, and it finds that for several types of pollution, the answer is yes. Claire Rogowski from the University of Cambridge led the study.
Being exposed to certain levels of PM 2.5 increases your risk of developing dementia by 8% over your lifetime.
PM 2.5 is one of the most common types of air pollution. It often comes from car exhaust or wildfire smoke or industrial pollution. The study also found that breathing in black carbon and nitrogen dioxide increased the chances of being diagnosed with dementia later. And Hus says other research is exploring exactly how pollution hurts the brain. She says it's a chain reaction. Tiny particles like black carbon,
they are so small that when they enter your respiratory system, from there they can enter the alveoli of the lungs.
Then the tiny particles can get into the blood.
And once they are in your blood, they can cause systemic inflammation.
And inflammation in the brain is linked to neurodegenerative disease. Rogowski says the new study results make a clear point.
We can see that there would be a massive reward to decreasing our exposure to air pollution.
She points to policy actions that reduce air pollution, like the congestion pricing New York City recently implemented to cut down on car and truck exhaust. Similar policies in London and Stockholm led to cleaner air.
And Rogowski says the benefits of cleaner air aren't just for brains.
We know asthma is associated with air pollution. We know cardiovascular things like heart disease are associated with air pollution.
So, she says, less pollution means better health overall. Alejandra Borunda, NPR News.
New York, New York, New York.
Ads for boozy beverages soon could start popping up on New York City's subways and buses after being banned for years. The MTA's board voted last month to ease restrictions on alcohol ads in the hopes of securing more advertising money. But some critics are protesting this move. Caroline Lewis covers healthcare for WNYC in Gotham. She's speaking with us about what's allowed under the new MTA rules and why some people oppose them. Caroline, take us back to when the ban on alcohol ads was first put in place, and how did that come about?
So the MTA board first voted to ban alcohol ads back in 2017, citing public health concerns, and it took effect in 2018. And at the time, this type of ban wasn't totally unprecedented. You know, the MTA had already banned tobacco ads back in the 90s. But the decision wasn't just made overnight either. People I spoke to who were part of the effort to get the MTA to ban alcohol ads said there was a years-long grassroots effort around this issue that brought together faith and community groups, young people, public health advocates, people from around the city. They made the case to the board that alcohol ads fuel underage drinking and also that advertisers were specifically targeting certain communities of color. So they made this an equity issue as well.
And what are the new rules that are in place now around alcohol ads? What's changed?
So MTA officials say they're not lifting the ban on alcohol ads, but just creating some common sense exceptions. And they also say they're putting in place guardrails to prevent kids from seeing the ads. But I did review the policy changes, and they make it pretty clear that ads for alcohol are now allowed in a variety of formats throughout the system. So under the new policy, the MTA allows alcohol ads on billboards as long as they're not visible within 500 feet of a school, playground, or house of worship. It also allows the sort of the big wraparound ads that are sometimes on shuttle trains between Times Square and Grand Central. And it allows ads on the digital displays that are scattered throughout the system. But the MTA policy does say that alcohol ads aren't allowed on digital displays during certain morning and afternoon hours on weekdays when kids are usually commuting to and from school.
What's the MTA's rationale for this change?
Well, for one thing, MTA officials say the digital displays make it easier to control exposure to alcohol ads. So they say with this new technology, the ads can be randomized so they don't target any one particular neighborhood. And officials also say the changes were the result of some comparison research they did on other American cities. So they cited Chicago in particular, which eased its own ban on alcohol ads several years ago. But I think, of course, the central argument is that the MTA is missing out on revenue by rejecting ads that contain alcoholic beverages. In some cases, they say that includes ads for restaurants and sports venues. One MTA board member pointed out that people are seeing alcohol ads as soon as they get off the subway in some cases, so the MTA might as well be getting some of that money. And they said it could bring in an additional $7 to $10 million a year if they do allow these ads, though, of course, that's in a system with a budget of about $20 billion.
On the other hand, you have everyone who pushed for the MTA to ban these ads in the first place. How are they responding?
They're really taken aback. There were a few members of the public who did testify at MTA meetings about this issue ahead of the board vote last month. But advocates I spoke to said that the vote to loosen the rules happened much faster and with much less public input than the vote to put the ban in place, originally. And some people don't buy the argument that the MTA can really prevent young people from seeing alcohol ads just by limiting the digital displays to certain times of day. They're making the case that young people are traveling through the transit system at all hours. And some advocates who were part of the original coalition to fight for a ban on alcohol ads say they're really re-energized and are now organizing again to get it fully reinstated.
What does the research say about the link between alcohol ads and underage drinking?
So there's actually a pretty strong body of evidence suggesting that exposure to alcohol ads contributes to underage drinking. And for people of any age, alcohol consumption is associated with a wide range of health risks. So, the Surgeon General just put out a warning earlier this year linking alcohol with several kinds of cancer. Public health advocates I spoke to also said they consider this sort of a pivotal moment because youth drinking is down overall for a variety of reasons, and they're worried about losing that progress. But I think part of the question at hand is how much responsibility the MTA has in the public health sphere and how it balances that with its revenue needs.
Caroline, you said no ads or billboards within 500 feet of schools and houses of worship. But within 500 feet of schools, school children still have to walk to and from school, so they'll see these billboards.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think, it's interesting to me that when I reached out to say to the MTA, what's your comment on sort of lifting this ban on alcohol ads? They were adamant that the ban is still in place. But the reality is these ads, if they're present throughout the system, people will be able to see them. Certainly advocates made the case that children, are not going to be limited to traveling during certain hours or in certain locations with their families if they have to go to after school activities. Some kids might have, jobs that they're working or, they might be traveling with their families. One advocate referred to the subway not just as the school bus for some kids, but as the family car. So I think, the fact is that when people are traveling on the transit system, that is a lot of exposure for a lot of people. Right. And certainly MTA officials said they have to consider their role as a public agency.
WNYC's Caroline Lewis. Caroline, thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Since you're my special friend, come closer for a special treat. I'm going to let you touch me in a special place.
It is never okay to touch someone else's private parts. Your mom and dad will tell you so.
A recent hire by the Vermont Agency of Education had previously been ordered to pay millions for secretly filming two teenage girls in a changing room. The agency says it was unaware of Bill Simmons' conduct when he was hired in December. Simmons had been investigated by Burlington police but never faced any criminal charges because the statute of limitations had passed. And last year, a jury in a civil lawsuit ordered Simmons to pay the women millions of dollars for invading their privacy and causing severe emotional distress. Vermont Public's Liam Elder Connors joins me now to walk us through the situation. Hi, Liam.
Hi, Mary.
Can we begin, Liam, with when the Agency of Education found out about Simmons' conduct?
Sure. So according to an agency spokesperson, they didn't know about Simmons' conduct until a Vermont Supreme Court ruling in June. A spokesperson says once they learned of the situation, they took immediate steps, including a due process review, and then Simmons resigned from the department on July 14th.
Is there any indication of any inappropriate conduct by Simmons while he was at the Agency of Education?
No, there's not. A spokesperson says he did work in schools, including doing some filming in schools, but the spokesperson says that the agency is not aware of any inappropriate footage and said it will alert individual schools if there's any cause for concern. The agency says that Vermont State Police are also reviewing all of Simmons' state-issued devices.
Well, why wasn't the agency aware of the investigation into Simmons or this jury verdict that found that he'd filmed these women changing?
Well, the agency didn't conduct a criminal background check. That's not part of the standard hiring procedure. People can self-report their criminal history from the past decade, according to a spokesperson. But remember, Simmons never faced any criminal charges for his conduct. The only case that had been filed was a civil case, and there was a jury verdict that says that he had invaded these women's privacy. But again, that's a civil case, so it's unlikely that they would have seen that in a criminal background check. Now, the AOE Secretary Zoe Saunders said in a staff email last week that the agency is working to strengthen its policies to prevent situations like this in the future.
Police did open a criminal investigation, right? What happened in that case?
So police started looking into this in 2018 when a woman came to them and said she'd found a video of herself and her sister that was online. A friend of a friend had sent it to them, and it showed them changing in a dressing room area. The video was recorded in 2012 during a video shoot that Simmons had recruited them to participate in. So the police investigated and ended up finding evidence, including the cameras that were used and footage of Simmons installing the camera in the changing area. That's all documented in a police report that I read through. But they couldn't file any charges because the statute of limitations is only 3 years, and they were investigating this many years later, so they couldn't bring any charges. I talked to Tom Chinette during this, and he's a recently retired Burlington police detective who worked on the case. And he says this really highlighted for him how Vermont's statute of limitations laws around cyber crimes might be a little antiquated.
Once an image or a video is online, it never goes away. It's copied, it's reproduced, and even this video continues to pop up on the internet.
Now, I should note that defense attorneys will often say that outlier cases can make bad laws and that there's some good reasons to have statute of limitations, like it's important to preserve a defendant's rights during criminal proceedings, and it's good to have crimes charged closer to when they were allegedly happening because it can lead to better evidence which could corroborate or exonerate a defendant.
One more question for you, Liam. Were you able to talk to Simmons, and what was his response to this?
I did. In a brief phone call, Simmons declined to comment. Later, he issued a statement through his attorney, and Simmons' attorney said in the written statement that Simmons, quote, greatly regrets his actions and the harm he caused.
That's Vermont Public's Liam Elder Connors. You can read that full story at vermontpublic.org. Liam, thanks.
You bet.
So, you want some of my electricity, do you? Well, for once, the rich white man is in control.
We turn now to growing concerns around the proliferation of misogyny online and its migration into real-world interactions, especially those involving young men. John Yang has this story about a Detroit teenager's experience and the broader implications of this trend.
Like many his age, Brian Campbell says he grew up an iPad kid, playing a lot of video games.
You about to lose anyway, it don't matter.
And when the COVID pandemic forced schools to shift to remote learning when he was 12, his primary connection with friends was online.
I would spend all my time on the internet. Either I'm playing the video game or on TikTok, or both. Fortnite, NBA 2K. If me and my friends get bored playing it for 10 hours, then we scroll on TikTok and send each other videos, and then we get back to playing the game.
Eventually, content with a specific perspective started showing up on Campbell's feeds.
It is so easy to become a top-tier male in the world today because the competition is so ridiculously low.
Topics masqueraded as informational, kind of male improvement. I think a lot of these people have lived more life. They're rich, they're nice car, all that. Like what society says is the ideal for a young man.
The message appealed to Campbell, and the more he engaged with it, the more he saw. Campbell had found himself in the heart of what's known as the manosphere. The term broadly refers to online communities that create and share content aimed at men and boys. But there's growing concern about the ideas behind that content. Misogynistic, often conspiratorial beliefs about gender roles and masculinity. And thanks to a handful of key influencers, the manosphere's reach has exploded. In an attempt to quantify that growth, researchers in Dublin set up accounts on multiple social media apps, posing as teenage boys. Last year, they reported that in less than half an hour, every one of the accounts was fed manosphere content, whether they sought it out or not.
In the post-Me Too movement, we've seen this surge of online misogyny in particular.
Cynthia Miller-Idris is the founder of the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab at American University. Her book, Man Up, The New Misogyny and the Rise of Violent Extremism, will be published in the fall.
They land on an influencer who's offering them often very tangible and real help that makes a difference, right? Like get 8 hours of sleep and drink water and get to the gym. And they package that with scapegoating of women or treatment of women or an idea of success as being, dominant. And so, your life is improving while you're starting to believe this other stuff.
Women sell purity, men sell success.
This is seen as a more dominant position.
A woman wants sex more than the guy does.
The average woman will always cheat more than the average man.
That's the sort of content Campbell was seeing. Soon, he was echoing those ideas.
How, like, women want to control us, and, you know, us as young men, we have to not be at the whim of women, and stuff I didn't really know what I was talking about, but it sounded good.
Campbell's dad, Al, and his older brother, Brandon, who had fallen down similar rabbit holes when he was younger, noticed a change.
He started mentioning a lot of things typical of someone who believes that the world is against them, where you think that if you are not, I'll say in quotes, superior, then something's wrong. He was kind of taking on opinions that didn't sound like his own. They were opinions that I myself once had because I had gained them from someone else.
While Brian was seeing this material, were you aware of it?
I guess I didn't really pick up on it at first. But over time, you know, you say a few things, it gets a little concerning, like, you know, hey, my wife's going to clean up after me. Being the alpha male and the this and the that and the type of guy that's the strongest, the baddest, and everybody needs to bow down and respect you, but then you don't have to respect anybody else.
When it comes to behavior like this, there's really no excuse for it, but there may be an explanation for it.
Psychologist and author Lisa D'Amour specializes in adolescent development.
It's helpful to think about 12-year-old boys in broader context. Girls hit puberty before boys do. So what this means is that for 7th grade boys in general, the girls are often beating them at recess, and then they come into the classroom and the girls are often beating them in school. So if you are a 12 or 13-year-old boy and you have had a very rough day at school where a girl outran you at recess and then had all the right answers when you didn't understand what was happening in class, and you come home feeling pretty small and you hop online and there is somebody telling you, listen, guys are actually great and the thing that's holding us back are girls, that is pretty compelling.
Jamie, I want you to listen carefully.
Online radicalization and the manosphere are at the center of the Emmy-nominated Netflix miniseries Adolescence, the platform's most-watched show in the first half of the year, with 145 million views. It's a fictional account of how these influences lead a teenage boy to murder a female classmate.
It's a call to action by the manosphere. 80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. You must trick them because you'll never get them in a normal way.
In real life, there's a growing number of examples of manosphere culture affecting interactions between boys and girls.
It's like little things like, oh, you should be back in the kitchen. And even though it's a joke, some people take it really far.
There are games that I've stopped playing because every single time I joined, I'd receive a rape threat.
Me and my former roommate were chased on campus by 2 different men saying that they were going to have a lot of fun with us that night.
Those kinds of things are have migrated from, online worlds into real life, sometimes in ways that boys are just trying to be provocative, sometimes in ways that are really dangerous stepping stones on the way to more harmful and violent content and behaviors.
Experts say the key to combating the spread of these ideas and preventing their worst effects is to engage with young men.
Don't start with a lecture. Start instead with a question. Ask, have you seen this? What is it like to see it? What do you think adults don't know about this that we should probably know? And how can I be helpful?
That's what happened to Brian Campbell in Detroit. Around Thanksgiving 2020, his older brother, home from college, sat him down for a long conversation.
So I wanted him to have a more, reflective idea of how he was engaging with others, how he viewed people, and how he interacted with them, less as like ideas or groups of people, but as individuals.
Campbell says that talk helped pull him out of the manosphere. He still sees online videos pushing misogynistic views, but he says he's able to tune them out and click not interested.
A lot of it was like reminding myself about, people in my life, like my grandma, my mom, like remembering that like there are real life women in my life that I respect and love, and that there's more to it than what the internet shows.
This fall, Campbell will be a senior in high school. His summer is filled with internships and other programs. Now, when he hears friends make misogynistic comments, he tries to speak up. What I won't do, he says, is be complicit. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Yang in Detroit.
A person, does that with the full knowledge that, that they don't know how much that's going to escalate. And see, and they get into a stand your ground type thing, really, I mean, which is what Zimmerman might say. See what I mean? In other words, who was attacking who, and how far did they go? See, that you know, but that's a risk that a person should understand that they would take. When non-white people are involved in any kind of altercation, they got to always consider that the white supremacists are going to say, if you are involved at all, you're going to be guilty of something. Because that's the way they usually work it. Even when you're trying to do the correct thing, they're going to find a way to accuse you of doing something that you shouldn't have done. And the way they usually do it is say, oh, yes, you know, when you did this, that was okay. But now when you did this and this and this and this, that's a horrendous violation of the law. So, you know, I have to commend you for doing a couple of these things, but those other 4 things you did, there's just no way around it. You're just going to have to go to jail on this one. You're going to have to do prison time. I mean, that's just all it is to it. Sorry about that. So a person has to keep this in mind when they make their move. Am I ready for greater confinement?
3 people are now in jail on charges related to the brawl that happened early Saturday morning on 4th Street in downtown Cincinnati.
On TNN's Merriweather, Dekyra Vernon and Jermaine Matthews are the first 3 charged in connection to that fight, the video of which went viral. Local 12's David Winter was at their bond hearings today. He joins us now with new details about the fight that has received national attention. David.
Yeah, it sure has, Kyle. All 3 of those suspects behind me right now in jail. 2 of them were arrested by police yesterday. The 3rd turned himself in overnight.
Jermaine Matthews is the man who turned himself in overnight. He's 39 years old from Walnut Hills. He's allegedly the man in the red shirt in the video, punching and stomping a man. Matthews' attorney says he was involved in the fight because the man police refer to as the victim kicked Matthews' car and called him a racial slur.
He's the same individual kicking his business vehicle. He confronts the guy and said, "What are you doing?" That's when, and this clip does exist on social media, it doesn't paint the whole picture, this white individual reaches over, says, "That's your car," and slaps my client in the face. That person, the alleged victim in this case, threw the first punch.
Dekyra Vernon is 24 years old and lives with her mother in Evanston. Her record up till now only included traffic tickets. You can see her in the video, allegedly with the long curly hair, attempting to hit one woman, and then allegedly later hitting another woman from behind. That woman eventually gets knocked out.
The woman that was injured and knocked out, she was trying to render aid to another victim.
She was.
At the time.
She was rendering aid to another victim that was on the ground, trying to get him back to his feet. He's actually trying to get his pants back on because they beat his pants off of him. And while she's rendering aid to that gentleman there, that's when Miss Vernon comes up and strikes her in the face. There's for no reason at all.
34-year-old Montienez Merriweather is from South Cumminsville. He served 7 years in prison for armed robbery and was out on bond for 4 felony gun charges when the fight occurred.
We have Mr. Merriweather coming up behind the victim, striking him in the side of the face from behind.
So you would call this like a surprise?
So this was more kind of like an ambush.
We spoke with Merriweather's cousins after the hearing. They say the prosecution is distorting the facts and their cousin is not a bad guy.
He's a wonderful guy. He did his time, as they stated, but since he did his time, he has changed his life completely. Everything they're trying to point him out to be a thug, that is not him. Not so.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I saw him in the video, and he was pretty violent.
He was, but you'll be violent if somebody spit on you as well. You'll be violent if somebody calls you a racial slur.
Merriweather's cousins say that they want to know why police have not arrested and charged the man who they are calling the victim. After all, police in court today admitted that he threw that first punch. Now, the prosecutor intimated in court that those charges may soon be coming. Incidentally, Matthews is currently charged with assault and aggravated riot. His bond is set at $100,000, but will go up tomorrow, likely, when police add aggravated assault to his charges. Vernon, the female defendant, got a $200,000 bond. She and Merriweather already have all 3 charges filed against them. Merriweather got a $500,000 bond. The prosecutor plans to present his case to the grand jury on August 8th. Incidentally, that woman who was knocked out, dropped to the ground, she apparently is from Russia, and police say that she has now returned to Russia, caught a flight on Sunday. Reporting live from the courthouse, David Winter, back to you.
Let me say something that gets to the very crux of the matter, and this may be offensive for some to hear who are not on the side that we're on. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years. Say that again. Let me say it one more time for those of you who didn't hear me. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years.
Police aren't calling it a hate crime, but that viral video of a brawl in downtown Cincinnati is creating a lot of hate online. Thanks for joining us here at 11 o'clock. I'm Cherie Pallella.
And I'm Mike Dardis. Last night we told you about a Cincinnati councilwoman who said those who were beaten up begged for it, and now a trustee in Ross Township is under pressure to resign after posting a racial slur about that fight. WLWT News 5's Rachel Hersheimer was at tonight's tense emergency meeting in Ross Township.
Tonight's emergency public meeting got very heated. Trustee David Young apologized for comments he made on social media, but refused to step down, even after everyone who spoke asked him to resign.
You have a dark spot in your heart, and we need love right now.
Outrage and dismay in Ross Township.
I'm beside myself with that type of a post from a public official, especially one I stand on this board with.
Trustee David Young at the center of this emergency meeting after posting racial slurs on Facebook. His comments in reaction to video of the downtown Cincinnati brawl seen by millions.
I made a statement I should not have made. I offended some people, and you're here. Okay, I apologize, and I deeply apologize, but I will not step down.
A person living in Ross asking Young to read his comments aloud.
My first comment was,
starting with the word 10.
10 on 1.
Keep going.
Is not, and I don't have the word spelled right.
Keep going.
It's called.
He continues with the second post.
Cincinnati has a problem, and they will always have a problem with their black citizens. Their animals, not all, I should have said, not all, but they won't change because the city won't come down on what's happening downtown.
Young's up for re-election in November. Many want him to step down now.
The sad part is he doesn't realize what he said, how hurtful that is to people.
Nobody in this room tonight siding with Young's statements, as his apology not sitting well with most. You're apologizing, but do you still stand by your comments?
I didn't say did I just tell you I apologize? I can't stand by my comments if I apologize. I'm admitting fault, am I not?
I asked Young what his response is to a lot of people asking him to resign, and he said they're entitled to ask, and I'm entitled to say no. Young also said that he made one mistake so far as a trustee. In Ross Township, Rachel Hersheimer, WLWT News 5.
What's your feelings towards Utah? I mean, your feelings towards Utah has been documented. You don't like Utah. I don't like Utah. They did some shit to me. We got so much in common.
Yeah, that's why I say you gonna keep saying it. Because once again, redneck motherfuckers up there, that's all they did was
up there.
I mean, that's all they did was call me nigger and talk about my mama. They don't even know. Talk about my grandma. Talk about my wife. Talk about my kids. Call them nigger this, nigger that, and then they think you aren't supposed to say nothing, and it's bad in Utah. It's awful.
They sent me the cutest message.
Eagle Mountain residents are no stranger to graffiti markings in the area, but on Monday, something felt different.
It just feels targeted to everybody, though.
Ember Carter has lived in Eagle Mountain for 23 years, and on Monday morning, something caught her eye.
I felt kicked in the stomach. I felt my chest tighten, and I just felt sick.
Carter discovered inappropriate messages written on a mailbox near her home, and after walking down a little ways, found the message, "I hate," followed by the N-word written near the roadway.
There's just no place for this. The N-word is despicable.
Carter says seeing the message hit close to home.
We have 4 kids. 2 adopted and 2 biological. The 2 that are adopted are African American.
After posting it on her community page, Carter was flooded with support, even from some who have only been in the neighborhood for 4 months.
Seeing a post like that was really shocking to me. And I think for me, I just wanted to show up for the kids and let them know that whatever was written on that sidewalk, whatever was vandalized there, says nothing about them, but everything about the person that did it.
Carter contacted the Utah County Sheriff's Office. Law enforcement told us they contacted the property owner as well as the U.S. Postal Service and had it cleaned up within hours.
Hold the kids accountable. Go to the doors, ask people to check their footage. Do something about it. Don't just slap them on the wrist and let them get away with it. Find them, make them come scrub it.
But Carter says seeing her community stand together gives her hope.
I'm so grateful for that. And we have so many good people, and I hate seeing our city on the news for bad things.
Neighbors like Michelle Grobe want to continue to make Eagle Mountain a welcoming place for everyone.
This does not represent our community at all. So this represents maybe a small pocket of people, and I want them to feel safe.
Now, the Utah County Sheriff's Office, they were unable to do an interview with us, but they tell me they're going to increase patrols in this area, and they're also going to continue to check with neighbors' Ring camera footage. They're also encouraging residents to review your own footage, and if you see something, report it. In Eagle Mountain, Carolina Hassett, Fox 13 News, Utah.
That if you want ultimate expression of white supremacy, and the white supremacist mentality, and you want to put it in the form of one person that I would name, and that's something I very seldom do, it would be Jeffrey Dahmer. He's the ultimate expression of white supremacy. Everything that he was doing, working in a chocolate factory, the whole 9 yards, storing black male bodies in canisters of lye and alcohol and whatnot, got them in the refrigerator, and cannibalism and all of that, and calm, very methodical, even when questioned by the law enforcement officers, very calm. Hannibal Lecter.
Frozen femurs in the freezer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Maxwell Anderson, who killed and dismembered 19-year-old Sade Robinson, is sentenced to life in prison without the eligibility of extended supervision.
Fox's Bria Jones takes us inside today's heartfelt sentencing with passionate pleas for answers.
Inside the courtroom, we listened to emotional impact statements from Sade Robinson's family and the family of Maxwell Anderson. Maxwell Anderson also addressing Robinson's family for the first time, as the judge said he has shown no remorse. Anger.
My daughter referred to you as a man. You will never be a man. You're a
emptiness.
You deserve what you get. He deserves the punishment that he gave to my daughter.
And never-ending heartache for a bright light extinguished before its time.
And the only one who took that from her is the man sitting right there. I beg you to not, I beg you to not let this man have any type of parole.
Sade Robinson's loved ones delivering powerful victim impact statements as her convicted killer, Maxwell Anderson, is sentenced to life in prison without extended supervision.
I cannot meet any person without the fear that they're going to harm or kill me. Because all my sister did was meet someone, and as a result, he ended her life.
19-year-old Robinson was killed and dismembered in April 2024 after a first date with Anderson. The 34-year-old was convicted in early June of murdering and mutilating Robinson, then setting her car on fire.
And I don't think you're remorseful in any way.
Judge Laura Carvello saying Anderson told a pre-sentence investigator he regretted not walking Robinson to her car because she was abducted outside his home. For the first time, he spoke publicly about the case.
Because I did not commit these crimes. And so I plan to appeal my convictions while I hope and pray that further investigations not only prove my innocence, but find and deliver true justice.
Getting emotional as his father made a statement.
To Sade's family, there are no words that I can share that will reduce your pain to
Max. We want you to know that we love you and support your plan for self-improvement.
Improvements. Any words for Sade Robinson and her family? Robinson's family desperately want to see lead to answers.
But I'm going to respectfully request that you confess where the rest of my daughter's crown is. You've already done the worst. You can at least give us that much.
In Milwaukee, Bria Jones, Fox 6 News.
Anderson's attorney, Anthony Cotton, says his client will appeal, but Mr. Cotton will not be handling that process. Robinson's estate has a wrongful death lawsuit pending against Anderson. The civil lawsuit against the bars the two visited on that date was thrown out, but Robinson's mother says she still wants them to be held accountable.
Context of White Supremacy. Pray for Miss Sheena Scarborough. Pray for Sade Robinson's little sister, who you heard in the audio. Context of White Supremacy. The worthless Negro from Virginia. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the global system of white supremacy, information for non-white people, victims of racism, individuals classified as white do not need to listen to the cows. Today's date, Saturday, August 2, 2025. So I have been told. Very plantational day for Gus T. It was so plantational. For the first time ever, Gus T went out and picked blueberries. Man, thankfully it was not a roasting hot day. They've had heat advisories and all that for many areas. At the time that the blueberry picking was going down, it was about 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So, I guess it depends on how you feel about 75. For at least for our local context, that is a smidgen. And I do mean like 2 degrees under what the typical temperature would be this time of year. But about right on the button. Picked for like 2 hours. Picked about 6 pounds in those 2 hours. Now, I will say, I did work up a little bit of a sweat. Blueberry picking is not the most arduous because you don't have to bend over. You don't have to dig the berries out of the ground. If you're taller, that helps. You can get the higher branches that a lot of people can't reach. And so you can almost just kind of shovel them right into your bucket. So 6 pounds in 2 hours. It's about 3 pounds an hour. Nothing to brag about, but 6 pounds of blueberry and different types. They had I have to go back to remember the different names because they had some that were like artisanal blueberries that are just local seeds, the heirloom seeds for blueberries that people have cultivated. Some of those are very good. And they had others that were like manufactured so that they can survive a tough journey, get banged around, and they won't be mushed and all that. They had some that were just really, really sweet. They had some that were kind of tart. Like, it was a massive orchard of blueberries. But, yeah, that was 6 pounds, no lashes, didn't get beaten, carefree, picked some berries. And they even had music playing for the berry. I don't know if it was for the berries or for the customers or both, but they did have music playing in the blueberry farm. That's it. Compensatory call-in, not for spectators. If you have observations, commentary to share, the number 720-716-7300, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 720-716-7300. 567-300, V code 564943, pound, press star 61 if you would like to participate. Before we get to listeners, callers, all of that, one, you can go back in the archives in case you missed it. Wednesday of this week, July 30, there was a white man suspected racist who came to Seattle to Elliott Bay Book Company, where Gus T has visited many times before, John A. Heyman, and he discussed his brand new book. Say, hey, Gus T has done his part to promote reading nonfiction, studying the system of white supremacy, racism, local history. He wrote the book Black Soldiers, White Laws, The Tragedy of the 24th Infantry in 1917 Houston. Now, we talked about this event before. It's in the archives, but he was here. The talk that he gave, I was present, front row. In fact, I think there were only two people seated on the front row, and it was two privileged black males. I had one entire row to myself, and then on the opposite side of the aisle, there was a different black male, privileged, both of us, and he had the other entire row. I got there late, so I can't even say that they saw Gus T. I don't say that because I didn't get there late, but what I say, if you can't be early, be on time, and I got there right at 7 o'clock when it started, and it just happened that nobody sat on the front row, so I did. But so when you sit on the front row, you will be able to ask a question. If they have a Q&A, they did, and I was the first person, so I got to ask two questions about this event that I, am somewhat familiar with: Negro counter violence, privileged black males, terrorist race soldier officers. Even give a shout out to Harris County, Texas. Came up so many times just this week alone. Harris County, Texas is mentioned in Dr. Angeline Spalding Flowers' book, her latest book on white Christian nationalism. She was a guest on the program on Monday, and she talks about the deliberate purge of Negro voters in Harris County, Texas, where they have a large population of black people. Oh, no. Don't think you're going to be casting no ballots here. And that might even mean that maybe you get on a jury, maybe you don't. So that was one. Two, came up in this book, the racist mutiny, so-called, in 1917 Houston, Harris County. And then it seems like every day I mention Devontae Hart. We were once a family before those lesbian race soldier white women drugged he and his 5 adopted siblings and drove them off a cliff, never to be seen again. Vontae lived in Harris County, Texas. Study local history. If you are connected to this area, you should be very informed about all of these events. Voter purge too, because I think that even came up, and we were once a family along the way of learning about Devontae. But the talk was great, and I think all of the black people that were present, all of the non-white people present, except my black brother from the front row and I, were connected with white people, meaning attended with another white person, or were gleeful to chat it up with white people afterwards. Like, man, I did not talk to any white people at this event except the author, John A. Heyman, and hopefully he'll be able to come and chat it up with us down the road. And I got a free signed copy of the book. Great day, but in the archives. Next, invest if you think the cows is constructive. Still processing Buffalo. We'll see if people think it is constructive. Dr. Angeline Spalding Flowers wrote about the significance of the Tops massacre in her book as well. I think she might say, yes, it might be constructive to cover what happens in Buffalo with the trial of Peyton Gendron, death penalty trial of Peyton Gendron. Invest if you think the cows is constructive. Gus T's courtroom coverage is constructive, helping us replace white supremacy with justice. Hit the blog racism-notes.blogspot.com, racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal button in the top right corner. Beneath the button, you'll see the links for PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Enormous gratitude to all of our investors who've kept us on the air for 16 plus years. Hopefully we've been super constructive, way more so than talking full talk and being erroneous over that 16-year period. You can also invest. Hit the wish list at Amazon.com. Me and Jeff Bezos, equally grateful. It's listed under Gus T. Renegade. Enormous thanks to all of the investors who've nabbed an item or 12 over all of these years. Hopefully we have been worthy of your time and energy. That's it. A few of the audio segments that we heard. They had that segment from First Post, which is an Indian news outlet. India is in next to Pakistan. Where they said that the alleged new study says that people don't think racism is as much of a problem in the U.S. as it used to be. Now, I've seen a number of reports of this nature over many, many years where, a large number, they won't even really specify frequently, but it'll just be Americans, that sort of thing, people in the U.S. It won't say white people, non-white people, everybody. But I've seen those sort of reports where, hey, a lot of people seem to think that racism is not that much of a problem anymore. Yeah. Victims guarantee, if anything, that the refinement of white supremacy racism, and then those, I think they said that DEI was doing more harm doing more harm than good. The problem is not so-called DEI. The problem is the system of white supremacy. Let's see. The segment, the alleged gunman in New York who is talking about study my brain. This is a result of me playing high school football. We've talked about this before. Heard from, I think Chris Jennings, his name, we've heard from him before. Former football player, might have CTE himself. I don't know. But oh man, we read that, or I read the book. We talked to the author of the book, Youth Sports, The Brain and Youth Sports. Football, she gave a big, she was unequivocal. Alcohol, youth brain, big no. Cigarettes, youth brain, big no. Cannabis, youth brain, big no. Football, at minimum, let's not do no tackling, cause you gonna mess your brain computer up. You get out there and pow, you got to get that forearm shiver and drag him to the ground. You're gonna mess your brain computer up. What happens when you mess your brain computer? Well, could be. I think they said they're going to study the alleged gunman. They're going to study his brain computer and see, what's going on here. That's the sort of thing that I say when people, point at Antonio Brown or any number of these athletes, often non-white males, black males, privileged. I say, man, you take all those hits to the head. Apparently, it doesn't even have to be at the NFL level. It could just be high school hits to the head, which is what we heard from a white neuroscientist years ago, really days after Damar Hamlin almost died on the field. And probably broke his brain, too. You die, you definitely break your brain, don't you? Let's see. We heard from Roishetta and Kamea Ozane. And they were talking about Cancer Alley down there where Irie is. And they said that, in fact, that was the daughter, Kamea Ozane, where she was doing the previous interview, and she said, hey, man, they deliberately put these chemicals and toxins in places where black people live, places where so-called indigenous people live. They deliberately put it in these so-called communities on purpose. Now, again, I mean, kudos, A plus for calling it what it is, because she said that's racist. Even Amy Goodman, lame Amy Goodman, never identifies that that's racist. That's racist. She never does that. A child shall lead them from the mouths of babes. She said that's racism. Sounding like Justice back on the cow. That's racism, what y'all doing. And Amy Goodman, all she could do is give her little face. Say that's racist. Ain't that cute? What she... Lame, that's my BFF, Amy Goodman, suspected racist. But the little one, she is totally correct. Kamea, she is totally correct. Non-white, just make it explicit. And it is deliberate. It's not no accident. The only thing I would say is, hey, man, if people, racists, deliberately target where you live to dump all kinds of poison and then lie about it so that you die, sick, can't go outside, that's not a community. Not even close. That's, we come up with another term, but that is not a community. If you got children and they say, hey, I don't want to be tubby. I don't want to be on the Ozempic. I'm going to go outside, ride my bike, run around the neighborhood. Who knows? Oh, no, you can't go outside because we live in sulfur. You smell it? Can't go outside. Can't go outside, pick no blueberries. Can't run around the neighborhood. You smell. Got to stay inside. Got to watch the television. Get on the Netflix. That is not a community. Cancer Alley is not a community. We did read A Terrible Thing to Waste, Harriet A. Washington in Gus T's Top 10, where she talks explicitly about Cancer Alley and the niggers down there who can't breathe for different reasons. No disrespect to Eric Garner. The report on, and dementia that was done, so beautiful, where they talked about that. We heard the CTE, and then hearing that, for some of the people who get impacted by what happens with these toxins and pollutants, it can predispose you to having dementia. What that mean for the black people that live in Cancer Alley? What that mean for Roishetta and Kamea Ozane? They put all these poisons and everything else in Sulphur, Louisiana, in Cancer Alley. And now I can't even remember what my name is. Can't remember what my grandchildren look like. Same thing you heard from the genius, Miss Kamea Ozane, where she said, this ain't no accident. They do this deliberately. They're going to put the poison in, and we know your brain computer might fall out your head by the time you're 60, but hey. Let's see. You weren't going to use your brain for anything, so, let's see. We heard, speaking of brain, because I just said alcohol, youth brain, big no-no. They said in New York, we're going to put Metro Transit Authority, we're going to put the alcohol advertisements back on the train. And they said it took a big campaign and all this effort. Said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. It increases alcohol consumption amongst the children. They said, okay. Simple-minded folks. Look here. We won't put the alcohol ads on at certain times. And it really doesn't matter because as soon as you step off the train, they're going to see the alcohol ads anyway. I thought they had been saying for at least a year or so that, hey, any alcohol consumption over 1 drink per week is carcinogenic. I thought that's what they said. Why are we promoting Mad Dog 2020, where even the chance that you got more young people who are underage, Sade Robinson, who should not be drinking, And we promoting it. So go on, get you some Mad Dog 20. You'll feel like a man. You get that Mad Dog 2020 in you. I mean, white culture. And they say all this is about some coins. This is the only way we got to get coin is to promote Pimp Mad Dog, potentially to children. All right. They gave the segment on the manosphere, talking about misogyny. We just talked about all this with Dr. Angeline Spalding Flowers. I thought it was important for this segment. They went and got a black dude. Now, this is not Gus T being lazy and he sounded Negro. I went and looked because they had video with this, and so they got a whole room full of black dudes, privileged, playing video games. But they got Mr. Campbell, Brian, and all his privileged Negro friends to put down their PS5 sticks long enough to tell us about your foray into patriarchy and how he said, yeah, man. And even the thing that, before I get to Mr. Campbell, let me even fast forward in that story. They said, man, you're out here, females, they mature physically faster than boys. So at a certain point in school, they can run faster. And then you go sit down in the classroom and they know all the answers. And you're sitting there, huh? What? Huh? What? Who? What? Yeah. And it's frustrating if you're a dude. I said, man, wait a minute. I'm a black male. Everybody in the universe tells me black males are the biggest loser, lame, chump, nobodies in the galaxy. Everybody, even President Obama said, you know, Kamala Harris could have been president if it wasn't for you worthless, patriarchal, sexist, no count black dudes. What? They purged me from the voter roll in Harris County, old Beezy. What are you? Let me not get back. Anyway, these patriarchal black dudes who, what did I say? They weren't sitting around at the board meeting. These black Negro patriarchs, they were sitting around playing PS5. But they toxic. Yes. But they said, imagine the little girls beat you at everything and they outrun you and then they know all the questions. I'm a Negro male and everybody has told me, Leroy, your dad wasn't nothing, your granddad wasn't nothing, your granddad wasn't nothing, you ain't nothing, and you look just like all your worthless Negro male relatives. Ugh. Get outside. Ugh. That's what you've heard all your life. And then Obeezy says you're sexist. Everybody. Nobody has anything quality to say about the Negro male. You can't get a job. Most likely to be homeless. Lowest life expectancy. Wouldn't all of this be the most appealing? Like, oh my God, like my Negro masculinity been in jeopardy before I was born. Anything that's going to supplement a little manhood, I'm going to sign up for that right now. Maybe 3-4 rounds of it. Wouldn't that be the result? Wouldn't that be the way it's marketed? Ain't it tough being a Negro male? Oh, come on over here, Leroy. We got you. The manosphere. That ain't what I see at all. As I said, it gave me pause. PBS, your talk on the manosphere, you gonna go get Leroy, Brian Campbell to sit and talk. What? Now, it might be Dr. Angeline Spalding Flowers. We talked about all this money. See, I told you, Gus T. See there? You got all these Negro patriarchs. You being one, talking about Gus T. You being one, but I told you, you got all these Negro male patriarchs. I'm going to say the same thing I just said again. They were playing video games. It didn't show all the property these Negro male patriarchs had. Matter of fact, it didn't even show them smacking around no females or keeping them from getting a job or getting a book published. It showed them, hey, hit X2, L2, I've seen that before. I I didn't generally hear that called Negro male oppression. I generally just heard that, there you go, you lazy, shiftless Negro man. You're just like your lazy father sitting around on the Madden all day long and eat my eyes. Get out of my, that's what I, man, I apologize for your Negro male, Gusty, I know. Toxic, wordless, toxic, privileged, Gusty, I got it. Let's see. They talked to David Young. Now, they had the brawl in Cincinnati, Ohio. The great Neely Fuller Jr., he said, now, you hear somebody, Negro, you better move, Negro, this your car. Fuller said, you hear that? It is time to go. Get out of there immediately. Now, if you choose the other route, I'm not going to flee. What did you call me? You don't call Leroy. How? Who? Pow. Okay. Round 1. Round 2. And he said, now, generally, you are going to get in trouble. Some elbows, some knuckles get to flying, somebody get bopped upside the head. And a white woman got knocked unconscious. I don't care if she's not a U.S. citizen. They said, we got this old interfering Putin's cousin been snuck over here. A white woman got knocked unconscious by some heathen Negros. All of y'all are going to jail, and that's exactly what happened. And it happened exactly the way Fuller said, hey, you are going to be the first ones going to jail. And if you're all right with that, hey, Leroy don't tolerate nobody calling him a Negro. Hands gonna be placed. No problem. And I understand. That means I might be, away for the next 5 years. And I'm all right with that. You don't call Leroy no Negro. Okay. But at minimum, you want to think all of that through in advance. It shouldn't be no spontaneous. They called me a Negro and I just blacked out and I commenced. Next thing I knew, I hit them with 15 uppercuts and they were on the ground unconscious and the police came and 15 years went by. Nope. We are in a system of white supremacy racism. You are likely to be mistreated at any moment, even called a Negro or worse. Fuller said, get out of there. Now, some of you say, hey, that's right. Knock that white woman out. That's what you get. Put your hands on my vehicle and all of that. Okay, well, I didn't even hear them say that any of the other white people went to jail. Only the black people. Only the black people. Now, then they went and talked to Dan Young, who went and said, as a result of this is the same thing I say about you Negroes, animals, heathens, all of you. See, he said, see, Cincinnati, they've got a problem with the Negroes for some time. See, Negroes up there behave just like animals. And he's on the town council. They said, we want you to resign, Mr. Young. He said, I ain't going to do it. Now, that's just your suggestion. That's just your opinion. They say that's just like a hind parts. Everybody got one. So, thank you for your opinion, and I'm going to stay on the council. I wonder if he get a salary, Mr. Young. Go around talk greasy about black people being animals. And he said, hey, I apologize. And I love it. They asked him, can you stand by what you said? Read what you posted, sir. And he went on and commenced to read, and he said, see, they've had a Negro problem in the Cincinnati area for some time now. Couldn't get Bron James to do nothing about that. He loved Ohio so much, see. See, the Negroes up there, they behave like animals. He said, what, my fault. I should have said that some, not all. See, the same way you say, not all white peoples is racist. Mr. Young say, now, be truthful, be fair, not all Negroes is animals. I love it, brother. Don't you resign. Stay in there forever, brother. Stay forever. Let's see. In Utah, they adopted the Negro. One more time. Harris County. Devontae Hart said they adopted a few Negroes into Utah, which is a racially restricted state. Can you imagine? I'm Devontae, and y'all done pulled me to Utah. Like, what? Do what? Where is Karl Malone's house? What? Mia Love ain't even with us no more. What? Utah, and then we get here and I go out and look. I hate the you ain't no niggers. Ain't no nigger. Wait a minute. You done brought me out here to Utah. Ain't no niggers. And soon as I get here, they done wrote on the street, I hate niggers. They might as well put my name there, because ain't no niggers here. Ain't no niggers here. How you hate niggers? Ain't no niggers here but me. It's two of us. That was Devontae, too, because they moved him to a plural. They moved Devontae. I do that all the time. It was 6 of them. It was Abigail. I'm trying to think. There's so many of them. I should know. Patrick. There we go. Sierra. It was 6 of them. Devontae just got all the attention. But they took them, the white lesbian racists, they took them to all them racially restricted regions. Remember, they even went to Green Bay, Wisconsin. We miss you, Brett Favre, who also don't get persecuted. See, you're a white sex offender, you don't get persecuted, you get a new job and go work at the school. Brett Favre, he stole all the welfare money. Why aren't they prosecuted? Hey, you bringing up old stuff. We love you, Brett Favre. We love you, brother. Mississippi's greatest. We love you, brother. The white lesbians, they love Brett Favre too. And Wisconsin. Man, not really even sure what to, convicted killer Maxwell Anderson, sentenced rest of his life in greater confinement, thankfully. I guess, if anything to say, visit the website for the foundation, Sade'sVoiceFoundation.com, Sade'sVoiceFoundation.com. Pray for Miss Sheena Scarborough and pray for Sade's sister, who you heard in the segment. And I told you all before, sitting in court, seeing her for 2 weeks, I said that is the saddest child in the world. You heard her victim statement where she said, I cannot meet a person without thinking, are they going to kill me and hack me up? Because of what happened to my sister, all she did was meet somebody. She gets killed and butchered. She's 17. Pray for Miss Sheena Scarborough. Pray for Sade's sister. I did not want to hear Maxwell Anderson at all because I felt like he wasted all that time. He didn't even take the stand. And if you didn't do this, sick white brother, you could have took the witness stand and told us under oath, I didn't do this. I'm so sorry, Miss Scarborough. I'm so sorry to the rest of Sade's family, but I didn't do this. She left my house. I was a no-count fiend for not walking her out. I was not a gentleman. I left her outside and something happened outside. I don't know, but it wasn't me. And any questions you got, I will answer right now for the record, for all time's sake. That's what you do. He didn't take the stand and they didn't have one witness. I told you Diddy, they pulled a Diddy, not one witness. Don't get up there whimpering, talking about it. Even his lame white parents, they got video of Max Anderson's lame white dad days after Sade Robinson butchered, dismembered. He's over cleaning up the crime scene, taking boxes out, laughing in the camera, smirking. This is the same lame race soldier who sat front row at this trial and whined and complained to the sheriffs in the courtroom Miss Scarborough, she bullying me, she looking at me tough. This dude, I'm talking about Max Anderson's dad, is over 6 feet tall, over 200 pounds. Miss Scarborough weighs 90 pounds, dripping wet. She is not 5 feet 5 tall. She gonna get me. She mean mug, but that's what he said. She looking at me tough. I'm scared she gonna get me. He's about 3 of her. Being serious. He's about 3 of her. We sorry, you gonna get up in court. We support your efforts for improvement. Is that what you were doing when you were helping them clean out the crime scene? Shh. It doesn't get any better than tacky, but oh, wait a minute. Let me show you how tacky things got in the 414, Cream City at its finest. Maxwell Anderson's lawyers asked to seal letters supporting him ahead of August 1st sentencing by my black brother, Chris Ramirez, who I met in person, got his card. I talked to him throughout the trial, saw him. In fact, he is the journalist for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel who wrote the report in April of 2024 about how they do not allow Negras on juries in Milwaukee, which is a city that has a majority black population. You don't let no Negras on the jury. And what was the Sade Robinson jury? They had 9 white people, 2 Negras, and 1 so-called Asian non-white female. In a city that does not have a majority white population, they had 9 white jurors, mostly white females. 7. But Chris Ramirez had written about that a year before we got to the trial, and then he brought it up again. Once we got to the trial, I went and talked to him about it. But like I said, he gave me his card. He said, don't you be no stranger, Custine. We talked to it. Super constructive. So glad I was able to meet him in person. He wrote this report. We got to share. A lawyer for convicted killer suspected, or they know suspect, race soldier Max Anderson wants letters written in support of his client to be sealed before Anderson's sentencing later this week, according to court filings. Anthony D. Cotton represented Anderson, 34, at trial, sent a letter on July 30 to Circuit Court Judge Laura Crivello requesting that character letters submitted in the case on his client's behalf be kept from the public, court records show. He cited privacy and safety reasons. A jury convicted Anderson on June 6 of first-degree intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse, and arson in the brutal April 2, 2024 slaying and dismemberment of Sade Carlina Robinson, 19. Anderson faces life in prison, which he received. Typically, character letters written by a defendant's supporters or family are open to the public, as are victim impact statements and statements from expert witnesses and pre-sentencing reports. A judge, however, can seal them. Cotton of Waukesha, which is a racially restricted region right outside of Milwaukee. That's what I said. I had to go there to see that, which I still would have been better to not go. But that said, I had to go to see. Wisconsin is one big racially restricted state like Utah, and Milwaukee specifically basically has all of the Negras in Wisconsin are in Milwaukee County. Not totally, but I mean almost like 80% of the state's population of Negras are in Milwaukee County. That's what I mean. Like, it is, woo! They stuffed them all there, and then they're surrounded literally by all of these racially restricted regions where it's no, and I mean, when I say no Negras, like no Negras, 6% black. And you need to put that in context. So it'll be 6% black, sometimes less than that, 2% black, 0% black, and you are literally 2 miles from a city that is majority black, but it's something like a force field pops up, bam. No Negroes allowed across this street. Back the dark Satan. Stay in Cream City. Continuing. Also filed on July 30 were forms from prosecutors seeking restitution in the case. Many of the filings were receipts outlining expenses spent for travel for members of Robinson's family who live out of state to attend Anderson's 2-week trial in May and June. Man, number one, this is so white culture. They will get 10,000 racist men, racist women, racist children to come out and lynch one black person. How cowardly can you be? Generally one privileged black male, and then we can't identify none of these folks. Consistent, generational accomplices whites are in. We don't, at the hands of persons unknown. Philip Dre's book, white author, he was a guest on the Cows during the Rona. But generational anonymity for racists is 2025. Who in the world? Matter of fact, we can even back up. Before we get to the who, what? What has 34-year-old Max Anderson done in his time in the known universe, a universe dominated by white supremacy racism? What has he done to evidence I got quality character to balance out in some way? I hacked up and killed a 19-year-old female. What has he done? He did a winter coat drive for down and out children in Milwaukee. What has he done? He helped get backpacks. We about to go back to school. He got pencils, new shoes, backpacks, paid for haircuts for the young children. Waukesha, Milwaukee, Racine, Cudahy. He looked out for the young children. Hey, man, old Max got you. I got good tips working at the bar this week. I'm going to get haircuts for the children in the neighborhood. You can go back to school. You be looking sharp. You be looking sharp. And you say, hey, Max looked out for you. That's what he did? Really? All the down and out bums in Milwaukee couldn't get a brew. You come by when Max on you. Man, you going to have a full cup long as Max is on the clock. What did he do? They about to send Max up the river for hacking up and killing and arson a black female. I got this, the chips are down. I got your back, Max. I'm going to write that. Same thing I said with Mary Kay. Now, if Gus T had been convicted, not accused, convicted, murder, arson, dismemberment, and mutilation of a corpse. How many Cows listeners, how many investors nabbed an item or 10 from the wish list? My black bride, I done learned a lot from the Cows now. That's how I heard about, Sister Pamela Evans Harris, and, he had Dr. Welsing on all them times. And I know he shouldn't have hacked her up and everything. You got a patriarchal black male, and then you got a patriarchal black male. But I'm gonna stand with Brother Gus. I'm gonna write a letter on his behalf. I'm gonna tell him, he did all that broadcast work, and I know that's a heinous thing, but he got some good qualities. He had a bad day. Don't we all have a bad day? Don't you still need a friend after a bad day? Gus T got a friend after a bad day. Judge, I want you to know, Gus T, he still got support. What in the hell? Retired, I'd call out names. Non-Clemson dad, retired firefighter, young actor. They'd be doing the same thing them lame, trashy white people was doing on the stand. I didn't know Mac. Oh, no, don't associate me with Mac. Don't put my name up there. No, I ain't going to no yoga retreat. I ain't never even heard of no Cows. I don't know nothing about that. And that's what's supposed to happen. Matter of fact, now I get back to not the what, the who. Anybody had the audacity. I'm with Max. That's my man. I got Max back. stand by your mother effing work for the rest of your life, for your grandchildren's life? Oh my, no. Don't, particularly the protocol is it's not supposed to be sealed. Follow the normal protocol. Put your name down. Ain't nobody got, what's all this? We worried. We concerned. Has Max Anderson's parents been assaulted? Somebody smacked him around? People watched all this in court and said, I'm going to go get that dude. At minimum, we going to busy box his house. Remember that? Columbine, they go mess your phone up so you can't dial out. At minimum, we going to TP his house. Did that happen? Did I miss that? Somebody, they slashed his tires? You got to tell me something. If you cowardly enough, if you racist enough, I got Max back. He was too cowardly to take the witness stand, and you still got Max back after this? I got to write a letter to the judge. He should get parole? Have some mercy? You should be identified. Your grandchildren should identify. Even if they come back 50 years later, what the hell were you thinking, Grandpa? Why did you write this dude? Well, I don't do niggers. Oh, okay. Let us know. Like, got it. I support racists under any circumstance. Got, okay, no problem. No problem. Make that plain. Put them names down in public. Much obliged, Chris Ramirez, black, privileged, black male journalist, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. I could not believe that I found, like, what? Did the same thing happen with Jeff Dahmer? Peyton Gendron? Dylan Roof, they got homies and what have you. They just sit around. Roofies, that's what they called his, what are they called? The groupies for Dylan Roof and such. They just sit around and we love some Dylan. We love some Max. We love what he did, maybe. Because for sure, Jeff Dahmer got a lot of love in Milwaukee and beyond, and everybody knows this thanks to Netflix. It does not get any better than tacky, and that is extra tacky. I'm going to write a letter of support, and then they give me anonymity. I can't even stand by. Max, my dude, still. Woo, even, what's your relationship to Max? How do you know this dude? Because everybody that I talked to in Milwaukee who knew Max Anderson, they knew him from a bar. Seven 716-7300. Decode 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. I will say, still super disgraceful, and even it's quite surreal for me to believe that I was just there at that courthouse with, I think, almost everybody that I saw on the screen. Like, oh, okay, I know that's Miss Scarborough's mother, Sade's grandmother, and this, I know who all these people are. I was there. They were there for the trial. That, woo, I would have angered Miss Scarborough after I was not even there anymore. Like, whew, I would not be. Although I guess to some degree, Gus T does have like the worst people skills in the universe. So I guess to some degree, it is believable. All that said, the added tackiness of the civil suits against the bars where dukes, twisted fishermen that served Sade, a minor, someone underage, and didn't even card her from the video that was shown in court, those civil suits being dismissed, just further tackiness and a lack of accountability in the entire situation. But for white people, because these are white-owned establishments, some of them where they said Max had been drinking there for 20 years. Some of these folks are Max's homies. Believe it was the person Dukes. I'd have to go back and look at the transcript because I got it in my notes, but I think it was Dukes if I had to put money down. But one of the bar owners, they testified and said he had been coming here as a patron for 20 years, and I just did my Negro math. Max 34 now, as you heard in the report. That means he's been drinking here since he was 14. That means y'all been serving underage teens at this bar for decades, which is something that I heard from many, many Wisconsin citizens. They call them Milwaukeeites. Did they say that? Brewers. They probably just say Brewers. 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 If anything, Sade Robinson, that would be one. Sobriety would be best. One of the articles that I posted that did bother Ms. Scarborough, unfortunately, was talking about the extraordinary number of alcohol-related deaths that they have in Milwaukee, and my conclusion is the same. I do, and particularly now, since they're going to be so tacky to say the bars aren't responsible, I do think of Sade C. Robinson's murder as an alcohol-related death murder. Same thing I said before. Perhaps if these white-owned establishments had done their job and carded this young lady, maybe Miss Scarborough would still have her daughter. Any hoodles, we'll get to the folks who dialed in. Star 61 if you have commentary, observations. Let's see. Again, if you have offspring, I would make sure you talk about the Sade C. Robinson case with your offspring. Man, new way to think about dating for males and females. For males and females. Anywho, number 720-716-7300, the code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. See if folks are spectating or how they are utilizing their last few days, I guess weeks of summer, or I guess it might be days depending on which part of the world you are in. I think I have already seen the leaves changing color here in the Seattle area, so it is a waning. Take advantage if you're going to do the farmer's market or blueberry picking or whatever else, hiking, whatever. Take advantage before it starts too cool, and then school will be back in session and all that good stuff too. Anyway, see, folks are spectating. While folks are spectating, getting their thoughts together, we will be here on this coming Friday, Catherine Massey Book Club, the 7th installment, the Greg Olson, If Loving You Is Wrong, Mary Kay Letourneau, Seattle legend. It has been such an informative read. I've learned so much, even though I've been frustrated and saying, man, I wish I had read this book way earlier, because then we could have talked with Mr. Fuller about this, Dr. Welsing, many other guests, even Pamela Evans Harris, all the talking that she did about interracial so-called relationships and sex between white people and non-white people. Man, Letourneau, put her in there too, like just lots of opportunities, so many lessons learned, and an important figure in Washington state history, but making up for lost time. The book is, and we still have quite a bit of ways to go. So if you in any way remember this case, talked about this case, studied, this case, kept up with it, man, it has been a hoot in the Catherine Massey Book Club, and more to come. Let's see. Also, I'll make sure we had as a guest Nikki High on the program earlier this week. She is a victim of the wildfires, a victim of white supremacy, and a black entrepreneur in SoCal. We talked about her extraordinary efforts in helping victims of the wildfire and using her bookstore, Octavia's Bookshelf, as kind of a hub for people and whatever they needed, and hair care products and all the rest of it, just to get a little bit of sanity back for a few moments, reading glasses and other things that they lost in the fire. But I was so impressed and inspired by her efforts. And then a black female bookstore owner. Man, in an era where they don't even have like brick and mortar bookstores, like they're, harder and harder to operate and such, to have a black-owned bookstore where she, centers black books and, named after Octavia Butler, black science fiction author. Man, what a privilege. And it took some effort. Like, I had been hearing about Miss High's efforts with Octavia's bookshelf since like January, and how they were responding to the fire. And so I had been trying to call them and email and all the rest of it. And this is like going back to January. So this is through going to Wisconsin, coming back, getting, oh yeah, the fires, blah, 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 and a check-in. And so through all of that to kind of persist, and finally 7 months later to be able to get her as a guest on the program. Man, that's stand by your work. I am super proud. And then I'm glad because she had so much information about the racism she experienced in the business, because white people, racists, do not want to see black people read, and especially reading serious material, nonfiction, studying racism seriously. They don't want to see that. So to hear all the detail about that, and then the racism of the wildfire, and talking about the wildfire costing her 50% of her customer base with racial dislocation and climate change, with the wildfires. But really pleased. We had a long broadcasted every day. We broadcasted every day since Monday of this week. So we have been on our counter-racist grind for the summer of 2025. Hopefully constructive and not wasting time and energy. That's it. We'll see. Folks are still spectating. Apparently, no thoughts. Sade Robinson or whatever else is happening with your summer, hopefully being used in a constructive manner. Let's see. But don't be hanging out, wasting time, all that other stuff. We'll give folks about 5 minutes if they have observations to share. Irie in Cancer Alley. We heard about them again, played the segment from Democracy Now!, where the mother-daughter tandem were discussing their efforts in Sulphur. We have to see how far Irie is from Sulphur, Louisiana. And they said, if you visit, you'll understand why it's called Sulphur, Louisiana. But that was Roishetta and Kamea Ozane from Democracy Now! If we may ask, if it's not giving out too much personal data, Irie, how far are you about thereabouts from Sulphur, Louisiana?
Let's see. I'm trying to see. You can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's around Lake Charles. So that's got to be like probably like 2 to 3 hours away. And it's west. But that's also, I'm looking at the map, it's going toward Beaumont, Texas. And, and then eventually you're going to hit Galveston and all that. So all that area is, full of refineries, and is where they do their stuff, their business with oil, petroleum. And wow. I was just thinking, I guess this makes me think what I was going to jump in and say, so you wouldn't have your time wasted on your program with no participation. I finished listening to the interview you did with the bookstore owner, and she spoke about that whole gentrification process where, they're trying to commit land theft at this point because of the fires. And I just found it to be so ironic, I guess, that before the fires, they were trying to get people to sell, and some people did, I guess, and some people didn't. But then the fires happened, and now they're finding these paperwork ways to get people to go into foreclosure on homes that can't be lived in, tricking people into thinking we're going to give you a reprieve on your mortgage, when really it wasn't. It was all a plan to set them up for failure. And when she talked about slow loss, that I understood it, I felt it, because your house can be intact. I'm thinking about my grandmother. I really feel for my grandmother, because after the storm, her house was intact, but she lost so much inside due to being away, like the lady was talking about, because she was away so long, and because that water was standing so long, and then it receded, but everything was mildewed and had black mold, and she ended up just trying to go. She tried to go through the house. We tried to go through and get what we could from the house. Yeah, I'm bothered by that. I'm bothered. The whole, there's this thing I was thinking about as well. I'm not trying to go off, too off, but I'm having a moment. But I was thinking about the lady in her real estate situation, and how their white people have made an effort to form collectives to go around the planet and remove Native people from their land, their native land, and privatize their native lands into invite-only communities. And that's the part that I think a lot of Black people or non-white people who consider themselves native to a place, we have to admit that it ain't true. You could be from a place, you can have so much heritage, ancestry, you could have been the first one there. But right now, Europeans who have spread themselves among the planet and now calling themselves white people, I'm talking about those folks, the ones that have the albinism. I'm not just talking about people that live in Europe, that's not white. I'm talking about white folks. They go around the planet, they tell people, excuse me, we live here now, you don't, or you can, but you have to serve me. Is that cool or not? And then, I'm not trying to use fiction, but they model themselves in fiction with, like, Star Trek, the Borg, resistance is futile. That's their attitude. They will annihilate. They don't care who was there first. They ain't trying to share it. And if they do allow non-white people to be there, it's a subservient, pitiful, and disgraceful role we have to fill, while we get predated. Delectable Negro, all that stuff. So a lot of people have been talking about, let me know if I'm going on too long, a lot of people have been talking about, we can't get put out, we can't get, what do you call that, when they kick you out of the country, deported, because, we were here first. Okay, in a righteous world, you shouldn't be deported from a place that you have heritage, like long-standing ancestry to, but we're not in that scenario. And they will find a way. They'll find a way even when you submit to the system and say, okay, let me be law-abiding, let me make money, let me pay for my home, let me do everything right, get insurance, and, I mow my lawn, and then they'll send you a $80,000 ticket or fine talking about your mailbox dirty. I don't know. I just be trying not to crack up sometimes, and I know I said a lot. I said a bunch of things, but it just all folds into the other. Like, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I wonder sometimes about the whole United Independent thing. I like what Mr. Fuller wrote. I practice it, but I just find myself and other people around me, especially victims of racism, really practicing more so what I heard Dr. King call rugged individualism. And it sucks. It's not good. And you spoke, I'm changing subjects, talking about Maxwell Anderson. I didn't want his voice either. I didn't. Despicable man, despicable entity, excuse me. It just makes me want to learn how to do spiritual things to help him stay in a punished position. You know what I'm saying? Because like I hope there's true justice. Like, dude, we saw you get on the bus as the car was burning. There's nothing else to it. Like, and I'm not even gonna speculate about if he didn't do it, but let's play the game. You helped then. You still helped with the murder. Ain't nobody stupid. She went on the date with you. That's it. That's all. And because she met up with you, she dead. Like, how? And whatever. Just, I'm sorry. I got triggered because of the whole, the fire thing and thinking about the hurricane thing. And oh, Lord, I just don't know sometimes. And I'll leave my line. I'm sorry for my emotions getting the best of me tonight. Thanks.
Much obliged, Irie. No apologies. That is a very common metaphor. Call it rugged individualism, whatever that means. Generally, in the system of I don't even really know what that means, because a lot of times, people, it'll sound something. Look, I just look out for me. I don't worry about anybody else, and I just knew me. Now that can't be true, because Fuller would always say, "Hey, babies, they need a lot of help, and if you stay here long enough, you will need help. You will get to the point, hey, I told you them football folks, you don't even remember your name." So, no, it can't be that. And white people help out other white people. White people help out other white people that they don't even like, in quotes. So, yeah, they would have to, I hear that metaphor all the time, rugged individualism. But we definitely don't practice codification. I will say that. I see very, very, even, hey, no name calling black people. I think that's an easy one, right? Shh. Coon, please. So, man, yes, it can be quite frustrating, lonely. You pick the descriptor, but there's very little investment, serious investment and dedication to being codified in our thought, speech, action, emotions. Very little. Those fires, I think we've had at least now several guests who talked about there were efforts to displace those black property owners prior to the fire, and now and some folks have even said it could have been planned because people had been saying this region has been vulnerable to wildfires for many, many decades, even longer, just the geography of the region. That said, with climate change, I suspect the more powerful white people, they knew this region is going to be vulnerable. So whenever we get a bad fire the next time, we'll get the property one way or another. We'll just wait them out, and maybe some of them will stay, but for a lot of them, they won't have insurance. The area's unincorporated, and the insurance companies, some of them, they had been divesting from these areas because of the fire danger anyway. So white people will have way more data on that and the resources to, we can wait them out, and we'll have better resources to own property in an area like this where you might have a fire, a bad one, once every 10 years, and that might mean that you have to invest a lot of money into fireproofing your property, or a lot of money into rebuilding every 10 to 15 years. Either or, we'll be better situated to do that than them, so we'll get the property one way or another. That system of white supremacy racism, we got lots of ways. And NDB Connolly, he told us in terms of acquiring black property, oh man, white people have gotten way more refined, got even more efficient at taking black owned property. especially prime locations like California. Like, oh man, you niggers aren't supposed to be here to begin with. That's the thought process. Any hoodles, much obliged. Irie, I did not want to hear Mr. Anderson's voice either. Just beat it. You didn't have anything to say during the trial when you could have taken a stand. Beat it. Serve your time and beat it. Hopefully we won't have to endure no movies about you or nothing else. We won't get no jailhouse books. Serve your time in general population. And yeah, quiet. We don't have to hear from him ever again, maybe. Number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. We'll give folks 5 minutes, see if they're spectating or they have additional thoughts, observations to share. I already said book club will be here on Friday, neutralizing workplace racism on Thursday. And then you can check social media updates for broadcasts in between. We'll let folks know as we kind of get the summer schedule filled out going down the home stretch. But at minimum, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Friday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, neutralizing workplace racism, and then the Catherine Massey Book Club. Let's see. Someone had messaged and said that they'd heard some like wacky noise during the live program. Like, I don't know what it is. I haven't heard it. Like, it was surprising to me, but they said it was really ear-splitting. If you've heard it today or if you hear it at other times, you could let me know. That would be super appreciative, because they said, interestingly, they do not hear it in the archived playback. It's only in the live feed. Now, if that's true, that would be some specific digging. But if anyone else, if you hear any distortion or loud noise while we're on the air, let old Gus T know, and we'll try and figure it out. Retired firefighter in Florida should be with us as well. Proceed.
Yes, sir. Greetings, everyone. Something pretty short. Over the course of probably about a year and a half, this has been talked about in Miami-Dade County on where to rebuild a trash incinerator, a huge trash incinerator. The original one burnt down. It was like a 4-alarm fire, which is in Dade County Fire Department. That's a huge fire that requires a great amount of fire trucks and rescue trucks because they have to put a lot of water on a fire as large as what took place at this trash incinerator. They are not going to rebuild that institution in that area. For one, the President of the United States have property in the area. The area is called Doral. You can look it up, and you would see that that's where the President comes down, and sometimes he golfs in that area, and probably some other things I just can't think of. And the options that have been coming up, there's only 3 that I know about that has been coming up. There's an area that's called Opelika, the west part of Opelika, western part of Opelika, just on the outskirts of the old Opelika Airport. Actually, Opelika Airport used to be where Miami International Airport used to be at. really long time ago. But either there or the southwestern part of an area called Miramar, Florida. Both areas, a lot of the citizens are non-white black people, of course. We know what damage, and you put it on a lot about the damages that could be done from this type of smoke residue that comes from these type of things like incinerators, and how it can affect people. The person I think who will make the last decision is the mayor of Miami-Dade County. Her last name is Carver or Cava, one of the two. But yeah, that's a big issue down here. They haven't finalized it yet on where it's going to be at. So everybody is staying tuned on where this new building is going to be built at. Oh, they also said the option is the what's the nickname for that place where they have the people that they are deporting? Alligator, whatever. It's alligator something. I keep forgetting what the last part is. They said something about building, and out there, that's the property of indigenous people on top of it, you know, along with the infamous prison. That's also its territory of indigenous people. So that's all I have. Thanks for listening.
Much obliged, retired firefighter in Florida. Speaking of climate change and sea level rise, Florida is an area dealing with the exact same problem, and lots of dark people classified as black having to deal with the exact same problem. And even they talked about with in Louisiana where they're going to put the toxic whatever at. They're going to put that where the niggers are? What? Wait a minute. What? Pay attention to local news. That'd be one I would say big time, so that you can be informed when these sorts of, when they're making these sorts of decisions. At minimum, you can be aware. Let's see. Our caller at the courthouse in Florida should be with us as well. If you had commentary, proceed.
Yes, sir. May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners and callers. Gus, I thought I heard a part of the audio. I think that they was talking about the guy that was making a post on the Cincinnati fight where I think something was talking. I don't know if he made the comment about if you have a dark side, or somebody said if you have a dark side and you need a light heart or something. I might have gotten that incorrect, but I heard the term dark used in that way. And I'm noticing also where they, well, of course, won't label or won't describe these white people as being racist, especially the person who it looks like started the fight in the Cincinnati area, where he used a racist slur. And of course he had the white support saying that he was the victim and hey, he got attacked. And I think I did, I actually did see that video on the news reports where they showed of the black people fighting with the white guy or whatever. And it reminded me of something that happened here where I'm at, where there was a black female and made a Facebook post about being extracted from a meeting about like something going on with the school board, and this white man was labeled a conservative or something like that, and he disrupted the meeting, and the police treated him of course he has greater value than the black person, and the black person was like, hey, me and another black person, we spoke up, we gave a point of view, and we had to leave. And this white guy, he gets to speak up. He made this comment about a lady here locally that it said something that he didn't like about Hogan's passing or whatever. And I guess he was speaking up for him. And other than that, the segment on, I think that was the judge speaking about the Maxwell Anderson. And I don't know if that was someone white, but it sounded like she made a comment about him not being remorseful. I found that interesting. And there was a report also on the news where it showed that a white man was arrested. I think he killed some couple, I guess a white couple. And I thought about the deception where they said he went to go try to get a haircut to hide his eyes, to hide his face, and I thought about deception. And other than that, that's all I have to share. Thanks for the program, and thanks for allowing me to speak.
Much obliged, sir. That was David Young, suspected racist, up in Ohio. He was talking about the brawl that they had in Cincinnati, and where he had been saying, they got a Negro problem up there, and, the Negroes are animals. And I should have said some, not all, see. And it was, I think from the video, it was someone white who said, you have a dark spot in your heart. And I almost did the rewind on that. Like, I have no idea why is it David Young has a dark spot? You're a suspected racist. You're unfit for office. You're toxic on social media. It's a lot of labels, but you have a dark spot on your tie or whatever. And they do have the video if folks want to, watch all of this. Even, I think they said they have the video of the white perpetrator starting the fight, Negro, and then striking and all the rest of it. He said he saw the different segment or a different crime where the white person is accused of killing a couple and then went and got a haircut to go and disguise himself so he could get away with all this killing. Like, man, I mean, I guess now you got generations of white people who sit around and watch 48 Hours and true crime and all the rest of it. So, hey, if you're going to do killing, and Dr. Welsing told us the system of white supremacy, it mandates killing. That's why you got all this worship of killing and murder, because you got to do killing all the time for the minority of the population to dominate the majority, non-white majority. I mean, she said that's why you got to have all of this killing. Make games out of killing. I'm going to get away with murder. Yeah, I'll cut my hair. They won't even know it's me. I done killed up 15 people by the time they figure out, That's old Max. I'm going to burn up the car, I'll throw all my clothes in the trash. They won't know what I had on. Like, they won't even be able to find it. Like, I throw all that out in the dumpster. Anyway, same thing. I was thinking, really, the Anderson case, because they had so much footage from people's DoorDash cams and all the rest on their property, all that racist graffiti out in Utah where they didn't, wrote Negro on the ground. It's got to be all those house cams and such in the area They got to know who did this. No snitching. Let's see. Make sure. Did we miss anybody? Anybody have commentary that we totally missed? Anything they wanted to get in? Grand? Sorry.
I just wanted to say I didn't realize rugged individualism was a metaphor, but I'm going to think about it some more and look it up, the two words, so I can understand how it's a metaphor. I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just saying I thought I wasn't using one, so thanks for, the elucidation. Thank you.
I'm just looking even at the word rugged. Having a broken, rocky, or uneven surface. Now that's one for rugged. Strongly made and capable of withstanding rough handling. Having or requiring toughness and determination. A week of rugged, demanding adventure at an outdoor training center. And then rugged, having attractively strong, rough-hewn features. Now, all of that individualism, I guess you could say, it's tough, determined individualism, but even that, like, what? What does that, what? It's very common. It's very, and I think most people, if you stop them and say, what does that mean? Rugged individualism. They don't just say individualism, but rugged. Like, what does that mean? I think it would be some pauses, at least a good stammer to try to get it together, because, I don't hear people elucidate, give details. This is plain individualism, but this is rugged. Like, what? Anyway, folks can think on it. Let me know. Or if you hear someone detail what that means and it makes sense, let me know. Let's see. Did we miss any? Okay. Assume we got everyone this time. Check the updates for social media. Will be back minimum on Thursday, neutralizing workplace racism. Prayers for Miss Sheena Scarborough. Prayers to Sade's younger sister. Man. Any hoodles. Sobriety would be best. We need high-functioning brain computers. Race soldiers like Mr. Maxwell and others out to kill us. Man. We need all the brain power we can muster. Creator, remind us not to waste non-white people's time and energy, especially our own. Help us maximize our time and energy to replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Stop saying not all white people are racist. Stop name-calling black people. Stop producing throwaway offspring. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed.
I'm a victim, brother.
Problem. You're a victim.
Yeah. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my condition. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.